come to sourcing in procurement and supply, Unit 3, Section 5, Selection Criteria. There is a saying that many are called but few are chosen. In this section, we will look at issues regarding supplier selection. A number of mechanisms are put in place to ensure that the most qualified supplier has been selected. So we're going to go through those mechanisms to ascertain that a buying organization is ending up with the best supplier. By the end of this section, we should be able to mention the importance of supplier selection, assess the criteria for contract award, identify the financial capabilities, status, and stability of suppliers, differentiate between technical capability and production capacity, explain quality and quality assurance, explain sustainability performance, and mention the importance of suppliers' organizational culture. Supplier selection is the process of choosing which prospective supplier, which prospective or potential supplier a buying organization should get into business with. Selection of the right supplier is very important for so many reasons. Obviously, we must justify the expenditure that goes into the selection process, so there will be no other way than how important and the benefits it will bring to the organization. So we're going to briefly go through some of this importance as a way of justifying the expenditure that goes into the selection process, right? The first importance we have here is the buyer has the assurance that investment into relationship development is with the right supplier. So Unit 1, you were told that there are some suppliers you need to develop long-term contracts with, long-term relationship with. And in developing a long-term relationship with a particular supplier comes with cost, comes with utilizing or the use of certain resources, which is an investment. So this supplier selection is going to give us the assurance that we are investing into the right supplier. The second importance is obtaining the right suppliers can boost business performance by offering innovative solutions. Defect is minimized when you get the right suppliers. They're able to come up with innovative solutions for you with the right suppliers. The right suppliers are able to help you forecast demand for certain requirements. Getting the right suppliers even makes work easy. And at the end of the period, you realize that our business performance is boosting. Our profit margin is high. The quality is good. Our customers love us, and many others. Thirdly, we have suppliers can contribute to the design of new products through early supplier involvement. We also did this in Unit 2, where we said involving your suppliers early is important for a number of reasons. As an organization, you don't need to wait till you're done designing your new product before you bring your suppliers on board. It's these suppliers that are in the industry. It's these suppliers that know the innovative things coming up. You don't just sit in your office and then design anything. At the end of the period, you realize that you've made a mistake and then you have to go back and do a whole lot of things again. Where this mistake could have been avoided had you involved your suppliers early. So getting the right suppliers and involving them early in your product development saves the organization lots of cost and then improves the quality of our final product. Supply selection is also the basis for developing partnership relationships with few reliable and trusted suppliers. Criteria for contract award. We're going to briefly go through some criteria organizations use in awarding contracts. 1. We focus on which supplier or bid out of the available pre-qualified shortlist is the best or winning option for the specific requirements. Secondly, we have to consider which of the shortlisted options represents the better solution or better value than their competitors or than their other bidders, right, or tenders. Third, we focus on the immediate requirements, the particular requirements we need right now. Why did we go through this whole process to award a contract to a particular supplier? Yes, we have to focus on that immediate requirement as a criteria in placing a particular contract. We then have the criteria for supplier selection. So the award criteria we just explained is the criteria we will go through, we will look at before awarding a contract to a particular supplier or a particular tenderer, right? However, the selection criteria we can say is what the organization is going to look at to shortlist suppliers, to identify suppliers we can associate ourselves with, suppliers we as a buying organization can use in supplying requirements. It can even be used to pre-qualify and then approve suppliers in our supplier approved list, right? The first criteria we have here is the financial capabilities. So we said that selection criteria involves developing indicators for the examination and the suitability, as well as the capability of a particular supplier to perform the contract that will be awarded at the end of the whole competition, right? So obviously we cannot do that without assessing the financial capabilities of the particular supplier, because in everything they do, they're going to need money. Their finances will determine whether the supplier will be able to execute the contract or not. Because if care is not taken and you end up awarding the contract to a supplier that is not financially capable, they will end up not being able to supply you with your goods and services, which is going to cause a whole lot of problems in your supply chains. So in order to avoid all these problems, future problems that will come up, we need to make sure we assess their financial capabilities. We also have the technical and production capacity. We need to make sure the supplier we are selecting has the knowledge and skills required to execute our contract to supply our requirements. Of course, the technical capacity criteria must align with whatever requirements we need. If you're looking for suppliers of tables, then we have to make sure that we are developing criteria, technical criteria in relation or in line with developing tables, not that we want table and our criteria is saying something else, or the criteria is geared towards building. No. The supplier should also have the production capacity. That is the maximum product output the company can produce using its available resources over the specified time, the duration of the contract. We have sustainability performance as a criteria for supplier selection. The buying organization should incorporate the three pillars of sustainability, the economic, social, and environmental aspects in all its dealings. You shouldn't only focus on making profits, ignoring the other aspects of sustainability, which has to do with the social and environmental aspects. As a buying organization, if you realize your suppliers are not being sustainable, you have to stay away from them, because their poor reputation can affect you if people find out you are dealing or you're associated with such a supplier, right? So we need to make sure our suppliers are paying their workers their minimum wage, they have their labor rights, their workers are enjoying their human rights, the people in the society are well taken care of by, let's say, not disposing of anything anyhow, not polluting the environment, doing everything right, ethical way of doing things. We recycle, we reuse our things and all that. If as a buying organization you realize our suppliers are not being sustainable, we don't work with them. We only work with sustainable suppliers. So the selection criteria for suppliers or supplier selection, we are saying we have the financial capabilities, where you assess the financial position of your suppliers. The technical and production capacity, where you have to ensure the suppliers have the knowledge and skills in doing something and also have the capacity to produce using their limited resources. They must use sustainable means in their organization. These are some of the criteria we can use to select suppliers. We have other criteria. You can come up with a lot of criteria. You can have a criteria like ensuring quality and quality assurance in their organization, and a whole lot of criteria. Suppliers' organizational culture. We all know culture to be the way we do things, the way a group of people do things, right? So organizational culture, that's the way the organization do their things, as a reflection of the shared values, beliefs, assumptions, and norms of behavior that develop in an organization over time. It is explicitly stated in corporate mission and value statements, but it is also visible in the attitudes expressed by the managers and staff, in their behavior, in the look of the premise, the neatness of staff uniform, and all sorts of other expressions. How does the supplier feel about quality and customer service? Is the supplier committed to innovation, creativity, responsibility, ethics, or in the environment? Are employees motivated and quality conscious, or do they cut corners where possible? How effective is communication within this organization? Such things will be an important indicator of the supplier's capability or commitment, and whether constructive working relationships will be possible with the buyer. The culture of the supplier may simply be incompatible with that of the buying organization. Their attitudes, their beliefs, their values, how they perceive risk, their risk tolerance may be too different to allow for collaboration or the management of expectations. So you need to know your supplier's organizational culture, how your supplier's organization deal, how they operate before you select such a supplier, right? Because remember, we don't want to end up with any supplier in our list. We want the best suppliers in our approved list. So we have to do everything possible to make sure we end up with nothing but the best. In summary, we have looked at key areas suppliers may be assessed: the financial capabilities, the operational, the quality, sustainability, and organizational culture. Thank you.